Greetings. I am the Doctor, and today I will be giving a small geography lesson to Dr. Tiny and Princess Posie. Now, what I have here is a globe. This is my preferred sort of map. The usual flat maps are something called Mercator projection, which to make it a rectangle takes the places closest to the poles and stretches them up and down, making North America, Greenland, and the Antarctic seem much more massive than they are, while simultaneously shrinking down places near the equator, most notably Africa, but also South America. And the globe also, I feel, gives you a better idea of where places are. Now, I know I always have a problem with the equator. I always think that either the equator is farther north than it is, or that the Middle East and South Asia are farther south than that is. And you can also do amusing things like imagining if you were able to simply lift the United Kingdom out of the water and wait for the planet to rotate, you could pretty much drop it into Hudson's Bay. But what I will be doing today is, teaching the blobs about the provinces, territories, and provincial capitals of Canada, since that's where we are. There we are. Now, we are going to start with Ontario, because that is where we are. Now, can you tell me the capital of Ontario? Of course, it's Toronto, right here on the shore of Lake Ontario. And next to that is Lake Erie, Lake Huron, Lake Michigan, which is the only Great Lake that is entirely within the United States, and Lake Superior. And the capital of Canada is also in Ontario. That's right, it's here, Ottawa, right on the border between Ontario and Quebec. And for the non-Torontonians in the audience, I'm sure you will be quite amused to notice that Toronto is not actually labeled on the map, even though we are the center of the universe. So let's move on to Quebec. And what is the capital of Quebec? This is a tricky one. No, it's not Montreal. Montreal is the largest city in Quebec, but the capital of Quebec is Quebec City. And then down here, we have New Brunswick. And the capital of New Brunswick is Fredericton, exactly. And then this teeny weeny little island here. That is Prince Edward Island. And it's very hard to fit that on a map when you're drawing one. And its capital is Charlottetown. which is also a rather long word, making it even harder to fit it all on a map. And then over here, we have Nova Scotia. That's right, capital is Halifax. And then all the way over here, we have Newfoundland and Labrador. And the capital is St. John's. Okay, now moving over to the west. Here, we have Manitoba. And the capital is, yes, Winnipeg, right down there. And beside that is the easiest to draw, but hardest to spell province, Saskatchewan, with the capital of Regina. And then over into Alberta. And the capital is not Calgary, Edmonton. And then British Columbia. That's kind of a tricky one too. That's right, it's not Vancouver. That's the capital of British Columbia. It's Victoria. Here on Vancouver Island, to make it even more tricky. Now we're going to go up north to the territories. Here we have the Yukon Territory, with its capital of Whitehorse. And then you can tell that this is an old map that hasn't been updated, because this whole block here is still the Northwest Territories, when in fact the Northwest Territories was split into, there was still a bit over here called the Northwest Territories, but coming up here and across and taking most of these islands up here is Nunavut. And it's not like this was all that recent. The Nunavut became a territory back in 1999. But first, we have the Northwest Territories, and their capital is Yellowknife. And then over in Nunavut, their capital over here is Iqaluit. And there we go. That was our quick tour of Canada. And since this has not been very long, we will fill the time with film of a cat that the mailman had been cat-sitting a few weeks ago. Until next time, stay hydrated.